Welcome to the Let's Talk Basic podcast, where girls talk about everything basic.
Join us as we sit down with a glass of wine and see where the conversation goes.
Kick back,
relax,
and get ready for the ultimate girls' night in.
I'm your host, Joanne.
And I'm Vanessa.
Okay, welcome back to this week's Let's Talk Basic podcast. Cheers.
We're with all of you, though. So it looks like we're going to be here for another month.
Yeah, I got the official notice that we are going to be working from home until May 1st or May 4th.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another month that I wasn't really prepared for.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to continue to get postponed, our day. So I feel like it's not going to be a surprise if we continue being in quarantine until the end of June, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wish that my work would give me a little bit of hope, like give me 2-week increments.
Yeah.
And like maybe give me the hope that I could come back and we can reassess. And I just think that it's just out of the question at this point. So same for me as well. So May 4th is when our next date is to see if we can go back to the office again. But looks like I'm going to be stuck here for another month with you guys.
That's
I can't wait to actually see people. And I don't even know what I would want to do. The first thing that I would want to do, like when we come out of this quarantine.
I want to be on a patio. That's where I think I know exactly where I want to go.
With people?
Yeah. It doesn't matter who's there. I just want to be out in like a bar or a restaurant again. I know exactly which one I'm going to go to immediately.
Nice. So I guess today's topic is kind of quarantine related, but we kind of want to bring it back to dating and relationship, which I know that you guys all really enjoy. So quarantine basically forces you to be in a house or stuck in a room with your significant other. So for you, it's your husband, and for me, it's my boyfriend. And we actually were talking about this or discussing this yesterday. How important is it to be dating or marrying your best friend? Because right now, we basically are, I guess, accelerating our relationship or whatnot because there's no one else to talk to and there's no one else to hang out with. It's just him and I.
Yeah.
This is it. So if we were to get married, this is it. So I'm kind of not double guessing, but like I'm just kind of really thinking hard. I'm like, can I do this for the rest of my life? Can I be with one person for the rest of my life? So, how do you feel about that, Joe?
Oh, for me? What do you mean?
Like, did you?
I'm already in it. Like I can't. There's no like refunds on this. Like, oh shoot, I made a mistake.
Yeah, but like I guess like having spent so much time with Tyler, right? Does it kind of remind you like, yeah, like I totally chose the right person. We can do everything together. We don't get bored of each other, and we can. There's so many things. You guys were telling me that you were playing video games. Like you kind of have to be each other's best friends at this point.
Yeah, I think for sure it definitely, if anything, it definitely helps to like really enjoy each other's company. And yeah, being in this situation, I definitely feel like it has accelerated our marriage by like a number of years.
Really?
It was just because like, when you're married and you're still working, you kind of go to work, you come back and you're connecting again just on your day. But now being together this whole time, it's really pushed us to this like place of like, we know how each other's day was. We have nothing new to say to each other. So so it's like pushing us to look for other ways to, I don't know, make our days or our time with each other fun. So yeah, like we've been playing video games. We've had to like really respect each other's hobbies and like things things that we would like to do for fun. Yeah, because there's nobody else to lean on other than each other.
Yeah, there's I think we're doing okay, but I keep repeating to him. I keep like reinforcing. I keep reinforcing. I'm like, hey, you know, if this is getting too much for you, don't hesitate to give me a nudge, and I can go back to my own condo. It's totally fine. Like it doesn't look like this thing is going to end anytime soon, so I don't want to be all up in your space. And then he turns to me. He's like, do you want to go home? Like, are you asking me and prompting these questions because you want me to say that, hey, yeah, it's getting too much, you should go home? Like, I was like, no, but like, I'm just telling him, like, I was saying, like, I'm not going to be offended if you say that because it's been a while. I haven't been home for like 3 weeks, and it doesn't look like I'm going to go home anytime soon. So it is a little weird, and I kind of have a little bit more respect for reality shows, you know, in like Bachelor in Paradise, for example, right?
Yeah.
They're stuck on this island with, you know, their friends and, you know, the person that they're supposed to build the relationship with, and we watch it obviously for entertainment and everything, but I think it's kind of interesting because their relationship does accelerate because it's the only person that they spend time with for, you know, weeks and weeks on end.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
So it's kind of the same situation. And I have maybe a little bit more legitimacy for the people that are coming out of relationships from Bachelor in Paradise. So, yeah, a new perspective for a terrible, bad reality TV show.
Do you feel like your relationship has like you kind of mentioned it has accelerated, but do you feel like it's accelerated for the better, or do you feel like it's kind of like, oh, like that was a lot too quickly?
So we actually had this discussion yesterday, and I think for us, because we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary, so we've been together for 4 years now, so there wasn't too much I didn't know already, but I think it would have been really, really interesting for people who were just kind of getting into the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So for people who are maybe have been dating for 6 months or so or under a year, if they chose to quarantine together during this time, I really, really feel like it's kind of a make or break.
Yeah. I would love to know like how new relationships are going in this circumstance, because I just feel like you would learn so much about a person so quickly. Even I think it's been really interesting to hear like Tyler go to work every day and be in a work setting like that. I don't think he's never heard me, I've never heard him. Like it's kind of interesting to hear like what type of personality we kind of put on in a work setting as well. And I think I've really enjoyed that because you would never have gotten that chance otherwise if it wasn't for being self-quarantined, I feel like.
So we actually had that discussion. Well, I have no one else to talk to, so we've had many discussions.
Yeah.
So I actually asked him yesterday, I'm like, oh, like, how do you feel about me on these conference calls? Like, do you think was this what you expected, or was there anything different about my job that you like didn't anticipate that I would be involved in? And the only thing he said was like, your voice is very high pitched. No one has ever said that to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're always like, oh, like this. I'm like, I do not talk like that. I'm like, absolutely not at a conference call. And then so I had to like ask a couple of my coworkers, I'm like, do I sound like that? And he's like, no, you're fine. I'm like, okay. So I have no idea what he was talking about. But yeah, I think in terms of me, has anything changed about him being at work? I still don't think he does a lot of work. is my consensus. Right? I've heard him on conference calls. He talks to a couple people. I know them by name now. It's like Andrew, Dan, and Stan. Those are the people he talks to on a daily basis. I know his schedule. Like, he has a team call every day at 10 o'clock, and that's pretty much it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything different about what I've anticipated about his job, but
yeah. So I've realized with Tyler, like, he's a big hard ass.
Oh.
Because he's like a manager. I think he has maybe like 10 people on his team that he is responsible for. And he does these calls with them, kind of like, I guess, like performance. He's doing performance reviews. Yeah. And he would always kind of start off with, you know, you're doing a really great job, but you could do better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I would really hate to hear that in a performance review. I just want to hear how good I'm doing. Like, end it at that.
And like, these video conference calls that he's
No, they're just calls.
Okay.
But he's been doing that to like every single person, other than the ones who are like worse, I guess.
Oh, what are those like?
He'll just be like, well, this is kind of the team's average, and you're not hitting it, so you could really be doing better.
That's so mean.
I know, right? Kind of like, oh my gosh, like...
That's so bad. I would hate for Tyler to be my boss.
And yeah, I know.
People say back to him.
Well, like, then they give their, like, reasons why they didn't hit their performance or whatever. And he's like, yep, I understand that, but this is kind of what we've been set out to do, so... And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're so brutal.
And you have to hear that probably 10 times because he has 10 people under him.
Yeah. But that's been really interesting to be like, oh, like, how is Sandy doing?
I hear Sandy a lot about Sandy a lot at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I guess she's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna have to move her around.
Yeah. Oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I've kind of enjoyed that, to be like, oh, that's what you're like at work.
Have you guys been doing anything different since you guys have to do like everything together now? But have you guys found new hobbies that you guys like to do together at all?
I actually feel like we've been doing more stuff apart. Whereas before, like, I guess before self-isolation happened, we would always do everything together when we come home. So it'd be like watching TV together or whatever. I feel like we've been doing more like of our own hobbies. So I've been playing my own video game. I've been playing Stardew Valley. I'm on year 3 for anybody who also plays it. And he's kind of been playing, I don't know, he's been doing his own stuff. So that's kind of been interesting, where we're sitting together but doing something separate, which we actually haven't really done before. Yeah, what else? I think that's like the biggest thing. Kind of just yeah.
I don't know if there's anything too much different in terms of what our schedule looks like.
Yeah.
My boyfriend really likes biking, so every day before dinner, so like after work, he would go out and go biking and actually do Uber Eats for 2 hours for exercising. And then that's the time that I get to myself making dinner, which I really enjoy. And then he comes home and then we eat dinner together and really just choose a movie and whatnot. We just finished Ted. Like, we've never watched Ted 2 before. We didn't even realize that. So we finished that yesterday. And what I've realized is that our nights pass by faster when we're not in front of the TV eating dinner.
Yeah.
So we've been trying that because I don't know, we get into this rut where, you have your morning coffee, you work, and then he goes bike and we eat dinner. And then it's like, by the time we're done dinner, it's only like 8:30.
Yeah.
We're like, great, like what now?
Yeah.
Right? So we've been trying this thing where we don't eat in front of the TV, and we eat actually on like the kitchen island or whatnot, where it's not in front of the TV. And we're actually talking to each other.
It's weird, eh?
It's very weird. And time actually passes by faster because you're actually talking instead of just show after show or like episode after episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really draining. And I feel like Joe was making fun of me, but like my eyes were actually hurting. And it's because I've been actually wearing my contacts so much more. Number one, because I wake up and then I don't take it off until I sleep, which is God knows when, because I don't have a schedule anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're doing a lot of screen time with our eye. Like you're constantly looking at a laptop, or you're on your phone, or you're watching television. There's not a lot of time that you're off.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to actually not sit in front of a TV and actually have a normal conversation like you would if you weren't in quarantine together. So I think that was really helpful. And then yesterday was a beautiful day here in Toronto. It was like around 10 to 12 degrees, and it was like sun was shining, and I feel like the days are actually getting, like, the daylight is like probably longer now. It was so beautiful. We went to just for a bike ride, so we just needed some fresh air, and we have a tandem bike, so we rode around the city. And I kid you not, it was so
I love
easy.
how you just say it so casually, like, we have a tandem bike. So
Yeah.
it's so weird.
So surprised. I think it's very normal. And so my explanation for having a tandem bike is that if you haven't like ridden around the city, it's kind of scary. So it's not like New York. New York is really, really scary, but Toronto's also very scary when it's, when there's traffic and pedestrians and everything. So I have fallen off the bike before and had my tires stuck on the streetcar tracks.
Oh gosh.
And I've completely like flipped.
Yeah.
And I hurt my knee and everything. So I think after that incident, I was like, absolutely no. Like, I'm not getting on a bike. And I think for him, being such an avid cyclist and love being out in the outdoors during the summer, the only way he could get me on a bike was a tandem, right? That way, like, I know that I'm safe and we still get to, go around the city and still like enjoy each other's company. So that was our compromise, was the tandem bike. So we don't do it because we're like really gross people and want to look romantic. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's really just, I'm so scarred from riding and cycling in the city that this is the only way that I would. And it's actually really fun. I got one of my couple friends on a tandem bike in Toronto Island during the summertime, and they absolutely loved it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually a really great way to get around the city. And the best part about the tandem bike is that you guys can still chat and talk, right? Because if you're on two separate bikes, usually the lanes are too narrow for you to be side by side. So you guys have to be like one after the other. And the distance between that could be pretty far sometimes. So it's actually a great way to get around the city. You get to chat, and honestly, it was a really nice day yesterday. But the crazy thing about yesterday was that we were riding around the city, and usually it would be crammed with cars and traffic and everything. And we rode down Yonge Street, which is, number one, the longest street in Toronto, but usually the most,
I think it's the longest street in the world.
Oh, there we go. But it's basically the business street. Yeah. Right? If you were to choose to ride in Toronto, that's not the street that you would usually go on. But we rode down Yonge Street yesterday, and it was completely empty.
Yeah.
It was actually scary. Like, it looked like, I don't know what happened. Like, everything was like no one was out, which was obviously great because it seems like everyone's following the rules, but I've never seen the city like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went through Nathan Phillips Square, where that big Toronto sign is, where it's pretty iconic. People take a lot of photos there. And then in the wintertime, there's a skating rink. It was completely empty.
Yeah, we were walking, we took a walk yesterday because it was so nice. And like when you're kind of on the sidewalks, you always run into people, or you're at an intersection and like somebody's crossing the street. So you're always like, for me, because I'm trying to avoid people, I like cross over to the other side, and then we run into somebody again, so we cross over the other side, and it just got really annoying. So we walked down the middle of the road in the end because there were no cars. And we're like, like, why are we walking on the sidewalks? Because there's nothing going on. But it was such a nice, it was weird, but it was really nice to do that too. Something about walking or being in the middle of the road feels like very freeing. Like, when they do those pedestrian Sundays where they close off the road, it always kind of feels like a little bit like naughty.
You're breaking the rule.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah. There's something like exciting about it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just like weird.
Totally so another street that we took when we were riding the bike yesterday was Queen Street West.
Mm-hmm.
And that one made me really sad because you can see so many different businesses kind of closing down, whether it be like just restaurants, local, fashion outlets, or, little boutiques that really make Queen Street unique.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them have already closed down. So I just feel really sad about that. And it totally made me want to support local business more.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really trying to buy like local beers from local brewers, getting takeout from like small businesses and stuff like that, because it's actually really sad to see all these great small businesses that made Toronto so unique all closed down during this time. And it sucks because some of them have just opened too.
I know. It's so heartbreaking. Yeah. It's like the same like for us because we're on the Danforth, and like those small restaurants, the really like unique and mom and pop shops are kind of what makes the Danforth. Mm-hmm. And we walked down just down it, and it was just sign after sign saying like, due to COVID-19, like we're closing our doors. And it's so sad because those people kind of become family almost. Like you see them all the time, and you go in and they recognize you and things like that, and you're like, I don't know, it's so heartbreaking. But I was gonna say, I know we weren't supposed to talk about coronavirus the entire episode, but one more thing about, you were saying all the streets to go down. Bloor, which is kind of like our rich stores where they all are, Bloor is all boarded up because people are afraid of people like breaking in while the stores are all closed. So seeing like boarded up stores one after another is like a weird, crazy feeling.
Yeah, they were doing that for Aritzia as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow.
They're doing that for some of the Queen Street stores as well. But it's really weird.
Yeah. And I can't believe people are thinking about breaking in or shoplifting at a time like this. It's crazy to me. But this kind of leads into the story I was going to tell you earlier. So, talking about shitty people, I was in a conference call yesterday, and it was just, I was listening into it. It was about, like what the government is doing to help businesses or something like serious like that. And there were probably like 100 people on the call. There was a speaker, she was kind of talking, and then suddenly somebody's like unmutes their mic and they're like, I have a question. This is on Zoom, by the way. So if you've been using it, like that's kind of the main like conference call service provider that everybody's been using. So somebody interrupts, and it's like a video conference. So the main speaker had her video. Some people had their videos on, and I had blocked mine. I muted myself. But somebody unmuted themselves, and they were like, I have a question. And so she stops, and she's like, yeah, go ahead. And then they share their screen, and it's like gay porn.
What?
Yeah. And it was just what? It was like a hijacked call pretty much, because then they started yelling and yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I like remember seeing the host's face, and she was just like shell shocked.
God.
It was like 2:30 in the afternoon. It was like my last call of the day. I was like, oh my gosh.
So how long did that person stay on the call for?
So I exited as like a normal person would. Like once that happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to see this. So I closed it, and I was like, okay, like I waited a few minutes, and then I went back in to see if like it ended or like the call, continued. I went back in, and it was still continuing, and I think they ended the call because it ended. Yeah. And then the host sent like an email being like, due to technical difficulties out of our control, we will have to postpone this call.
So it's like a random person who got a hold, I guess, of your Zoom like conference ID and joined the call and decided to do something like that.
I guess so. So after that, I kind of like told a few people about what just happened, and apparently it's not new. Like this has been happening to a number of calls.
Wow.
There's like articles about how to like protect your conference calls because there's just been hackers doing this. I'm like, that's crazy.
And do you think it's just the government, or do you think it's other companies, or just like
no? I think it's any companies. I think so. I was talking to a friend about it, and apparently what they do is there's like some script that you can write up to like find any unprotected conference calls. So that's what like these people will do. They'll just like go into whatever's open at that time and like hijack the call.
Oh man.
So that happened.
To be honest, maybe people are just so freaking bored. They're just looking for some sort of entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good topic to kind of bring up, right? It's like, oh, something crazy happened on my call today. It definitely hasn't happened to me. I hope it does not. We don't use Zoom in my organization. We use Skype.
Oh, okay.
Skype for business. So I don't know if that's any different. I'm sure many people use that. So who knows? That is insane.
I didn't even realize that would happen like that.
Someone would have screenshotted the host's face. I feel like that would have been a great meme.
I honestly thought it was like my computer. Like I had some virus or something got onto like my work computer. So, like I went onto some crappy website and like.
I actually think that's like the scariest thing. So we have something called our all staff huddle every single Tuesday. And in our organization, there's over 100 people on these calls. And there's obviously like a text box where everyone can see your messages. Like you type in like things like, hey, I can hear you. Like, or like that's where you post questions for the host or your admin for any questions that you have. And it is my biggest nightmare when my colleagues, some of like basically my friends are messaging me like with like comments like, ugh, so annoying. It's like this person's talking again. I'm like, it's my biggest nightmare to accidentally type in that all staff chat box. So I just like don't do it at all.
Yeah.
I tell them like, honestly, it's just text me on my phone because I can't risk that. I get nightmares thinking about stuff like that because how embarrassing would that be?
Oh man, I know. I always like we talk a lot on Skype.
Mm-hmm.
for just chatting in general, and I'm always like so paranoid that one day I'm gonna say something and it goes to like my manager instead.
Absolutely. Like,
It's
with
just a matter of
technology nowadays,
time.
right? Yeah, and even with like you ending your conference call and you're off video, like it, I actually close the entire system first. Like, I close actually the entire Skype for Business and then log back in, because you never know. And I really hate to be that girl, because there's like it's like a viral video now. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's this person who was on a conference call and she's taking her laptop, like, being mobile in her house and whatnot. And she forgets or doesn't realize that she was on video conference. And she like took down her pants and was basically peeing.
Oh, I heard about that. Oh
Yeah, I have
gosh.
the video. So I'll show you after this
Oh,
podcast.
that's so awful.
It was so cringe-worthy. And you could see like her, all of her colleagues on the call being like, no, like, oh no, like people were reminding her, like, you're on video, and then you could see her like being so embarrassed.
Oh no.
Honestly, that's like my biggest nightmare. So whenever I am on conference call, I've made it basically a rule for me to be at like a kitchen table or at a desk and not like on my bed or anything like that, because you just never know.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to be prepared.
Yeah. Like so terrible.
It's so bad. Oh my god.
But it was funny because when I was on my conference call and that whole situation happened, it was happening on my screen and I'm just like, what the hell? So I like looked over at Tyler and he was actually on a call with his colleagues. Like he was leading a call. And I just look at him and I point to my screen. And he's just like, hold up, guys. This is happening on my wife's computer right now.
And he showed the people?
No. He wasn't on a video call. He was on a conference call. So he was like describing what happened. But yeah. Okay, I guess like I'll tie it back into our topic for today.
No, I think these are great.
You need to have somebody to laugh with, because like in that moment I was like, oh my gosh, like this just happened. What do I do? Who do I talk to? And like immediately after his call,
one person to talk to.
Yeah. Immediately after his call, he was like, okay, what happened?
I also think that living with this person for a elongated period of time, you also have to have some boundaries and respect for each other. So one thing for me is that there are chores that I absolutely hate doing, and that is making the bed and washing the bed sheets and putting them back in. That's like the worst chore for me. I also hate taking out the garbage. And
that one's mine too.
Yeah,
I hate taking out the garbage.
Hate it. But, I guess for me, it's kind of a glimpse into what married life would look like for us, right? And we had a chat, and he said that, look, you can be selective about your chores, but if it's like right there, you can't not do it.
Right.
So I learned my lesson.
Like what?
I had to do the bed sheets yesterday. So basically, he did everything, and then I went upstairs, I saw the bed sheets, and he's like, so you didn't even try? And I'm like,
to
no.
make the bed?
So I was the first one to go upstairs, and he had already had done the laundry, and he put everything on the bed, and I was the first one to go upstairs, so I definitely should have put the pillowcases on the pillow and just at least attempted to put everything back, the bed sheets and everything, and I didn't do it. So he came back and he's like, well, we have a problem here. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? He's like, I know that you don't like to do some of these chores, but if I'm the one who's doing the laundry, putting it in the dryer, and bringing it upstairs from the basement, like, I'd expect you to kind of contribute maybe a little bit, or at least like try or whatnot. And then I felt really bad, so I had to do it. So it, like I said, it kind of gave me a glimpse into what our married life would look like.
Yeah.
And I think we're so bored that we're like all constantly making up scenarios as to what would happen if we had children right now.
Oh my gosh. I feel bad to say this, but I'm so glad I don't have children right now.
Yeah. So every morning, so we live in a townhouse, which is, you know, have walls that are attached to another home.
Mm-hmm.
And every morning at around 7:00, his neighbor has 2 kids that are probably around 8 years old. They're twins, by the way, a girl and a boy. And you could hear Charlie, as his neighbor, would get up and yell, "Get up! Get up!" And then, like, you could hear, like, the son being, "I don't want to. He's like, "Come on, let's go. We're going for a walk." And he's like, "No!" That's, like, the horror, right, of that. And I'm just like, I don't even want to get up. I definitely don't want to go for a walk. But, yeah, just like hearing that and listening to that. So we're like playing out scenarios in our head of what life would be like if we had a child. And we had this like very cool imagination of like switching one of the rooms that we have right now as our video game room, which is like a playroom and everything. And I'm like, how I'm going to, you know, switch that up and make it into, you know, like we'll have schedule, we'll have like playtime, music time, and whatnot. And then after we realized that, I'm like, you know what? It sounds like it's really easy. It's probably not. And so we ended the conversation with another margarita. That's what it's been like so far. So yeah, I'm getting a glimpse into what married life would be like with him, and I think it's tolerable. I hope I'm tolerable.
What's been really eye-opening, I don't know, like what I've been really into, let me correct myself in saying that, is I've been wanting to get a dog during this.
God, so many people have gotten dogs over like the last couple of weeks.
Have they?
I've been seeing it all over Instagram. People are getting new puppies that are so adorable. I'm like, once this quarantine is over, like, it's not going to be good. You guys will have a life again.
I know, but I want a quarantine puppy so badly. It's such an ideal time because we're always saying like we don't have time to like be home with them. So I'm like, this is a perfect time. So I've been trying to push that on Ty right now, but he's not really loving the idea because he's like, well, number one, he believes that he's going to have to be the one that takes care of the dog, which is partially kind of true.
I can see that.
Yeah. He's like, you're not going to want to wake up when it's raining outside at like 7 a.m. to take the dog out. And I'm like, that's true. Mornings will be you for sure. And then he's like, when this is all over, you're not going to want to be the one to like come home at like 9 p.m. to take the dog out and cut your like drinks short. And I'm like, that is true too.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're home. And you wake up early, so. But yeah, we found this really cute Jack Russell Terrier called Joe. So every now and then I'm just like, I wonder how Joe's doing.
Oh, well, you have another month to convince him.
I know.
I think maybe more. So good luck with that. And I think that it's so cute to have a quarantine dog right now.
Yeah.
And I actually think that pets are probably loving the fact that their owners are always home.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But
like, I think there was like a meme or something saying that coronavirus was created by dogs to keep their owners home.
it was really cute.
Yeah.
And it's also really cute to see all these different animals during conference calls too.
Yeah, it is so cute.
And what's really interesting is that people that I plagued, that I didn't plague as like cat ladies, totally have cats. I was super surprised. I was on a conference call and I saw in the background, I'm like, is that a cat?
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, this is my cat, Tiger. I was like, what? Like, I totally did not see that at all. Like, I totally thought she was a dog person.
Yeah.
So like things like that really, really surprised me. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that she named her cat Tiger after watching Tiger King was just a bit of a turnoff.
Oh, it was a new cat.
Huh?
It was a new cat.
I don't know. I think it's been a cat that has been in her house for a while, but she named I'm like, oh, what's the cat's name? And she's like Tiger. I was like, oh.
Like, did she change the name of the cat then?
No, it was always Tiger.
Oh.
And then Tiger King came out and I was like, oh.
Oh. I haven't watched it. I feel like everybody's been talking about it, but I haven't.
It's good. You should watch it.
All right. Maybe after I finish playing Stardew Valley. Anyways, on that note, we didn't really get to talk about our topic too much about marrying our best friends, but it's we'll get to that another time, I guess.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.
Thanks for listening to the Let's Talk Basic podcast. For more exclusive content, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Basic.